There are many different kinds of mystery novels, from cozy mysteries to police procedurals to very dark thrillers, but I'm here today to talk about my made-up genre that I like to call cozy adjacent mysteries. Stay tuned and find out all about them. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome back to my reading life. Today I'm here to talk about a subset of mystery novels that doesn't really have an official name, though I have given it a name, and I like to call these cozy adjacent mysteries. And what exactly do I mean by that? Cozy adjacent mysteries are, for me, just a half a step or a step above the cozy mystery genre. The cozy mystery genre has a sweetness to it that the books I'm going to share today don't really possess, though they aren't dark or gritty in any way. And I really feel like the mysteries that I'm going to talk about today kind of bridge the gap between the cozy mystery and heading into that more kind of straight mystery novel or police procedural private detective type mystery story. And I really think the best way for me to explain what this type of book is to show you. So let's get into the books. Whenever I talk about cozy adjacent mysteries, or whenever anybody asks me what I mean by cozy adjacent mysteries, this first series is the one that I always go to. I think it is a perfect example of this genre category of books, and that is the Lady Hardcastle Mysteries by T.E. Kinsey. This is the first book in the series, A Quiet Life in the Country, and in this we are following Lady Hardcastle and her lady's maid slash friend slash co-detective Flo. And these books are set in the early 1900s. And in this first book, Lady Hardcastle and Flo have just returned to England. They have been living in the East, and they have some connections to sort of the British Secret Service, both with Lady Hardcastle's husband and also with her brother. And so before we even meet them, they have already been solving mysteries prior to where the series starts. And so they've already kind of got this background, and then they get involved in mysteries both in the sleepy little village that they moved to in England and also just as they travel around. This is a fantastic series, and I think what makes it so good is the relationship between Lady Hardcastle and Flo. And they're both very different. They both have very different skill sets. Flo comes from a circus family. Her father was a knife thrower, and she's very adept at that. She's very small, she's very petite, but she is quite acrobatic, and she is very good at taking down the bad guys. Lady Hardcastle is sort of the brains behind the operation. She sort of works through and problem solves things, and we're being told all the stories from Flo's point of view, and she's such a fabulous narrator. And again, I have mentioned these books many, many times. They are fabulous on audio as read by Elizabeth Nolden. But if you've never tried the Cozy Adjacent Mystery series, or you want to kind of understand what I mean by that, I think this is the perfect series to start with. I cannot recommend it enough. There's nothing graphic in these, though there are deaths in them, so you do need to know that. But again, there are no graphic details about any of the murders that happen, and sometimes there are other mysteries in the books, like theft, or there's some sort of espionage going on. So there's a lot of variety in this series, and it is fabulous. I cannot recommend it enough. It is one of my very, very favorites. Next up is another mystery series, and this is one that probably a lot of you are familiar with, and I really think it also kind of hits the sweet spot of what I mean by cozy adjacent, and that is the #1 Ladies Detective Agency series by Alexander McCall Smith. And this is set in Botswana in Africa, and we follow Precious Ramatswe, and she opens a detective agency, the first ladies detective agency in Botswana, and we follow along with her as she solves different mysteries. In this first book, you're really just kind of getting to know Precious, and you learn about her background and about her family and her husband who she was married to, and you get to meet the current characters. She hires a secretary, you get to know her. You meet Mr. JLB Makatoni, who runs the garage that's like right next door to the #1 ladies detective agency, and so you just are kind of getting situated and learning about the characters that are going to play important roles in future mysteries. What I like about the #1 ladies detective agency is that the mysteries themselves, there aren't a lot of murders. I'm trying to even recall if any of the books feature murder, and there might be a murder or two, but for the most part, the mysteries in these surround things like figuring out somebody's identity, there's a disappearance or a kidnapping, there's a theft of some kind, and oftentimes there are like multiple storylines happening in each book. So you're kind of following little vignettes of mysteries. And the reason I don't think this series classifies as a cozy mystery series is because there are sometimes some darker themes, some difficult subject matters. So definitely look into that before you start this series. But overall, I feel like it has a lighter touch to it. And that's why I wouldn't classify this as sort of a private detective type mystery series. And I put it into my cozy adjacent mystery series. And again, I think this is another excellent example of it. Next up is a mystery series that I think is so much fun. And when I really just need something almost like a palate cleanser for other reads, this is one of the series that I gravitate towards, and that is the Hamish Macbeth mystery series by M.C. Beaton. Hamish is a police detective in a small English village. Hamish can often seem a little bit on the lazy side, a little bit unmotivated. He doesn't really have any aspirations to advance in his career. He's just happy being the lone detective in this little village and solving the mysteries that come his way. And there are murders in this series, but again, it's just handled with a slightly lighter touch to it, but not so light that it feels like a cozy mystery, though there are lots of cozy elements to the Hamish Macbeth series. You learn a lot about Hamish's personal life as time goes on. You learn about his boss, who really doesn't like him and who he doesn't like. But even though Hamish seems like he might be lazy, he's actually really, really good at his job, and he always finds out who done it and solves the mystery, and is always very satisfying. If Hamish's personal life maybe isn't so much. He's maybe not as good at that side of things as he is at solving mysteries. But I enjoy this series very much. I know lots of people also love the Agatha Raisin mystery series by M.C. Beaton. That one doesn't quite work for me, but I know lots of people love it, so you might also want to give that one a try if the synopsis sounds good to you, but I would definitely classify those as cozy adjacent mysteries as well. I'm going to switch gears from series and talk about two standalone books that I think are excellent examples of the cozy adjacent mystery series. And first up is one that I discovered when I was sort of going down this rabbit hole of trying to find these cozy adjacent mysteries, because I knew what I wanted and there wasn't really a categorization for it. And so I kind of had to figure out for myself what mysteries fell into my made-up genre. And this was one of them. And that was The Pigeon Pie Mystery by Julia Stewart. The Pigeon Pie Mystery is set at Hampton Court Palace in England in the late 1800s during the Victorian era. And in this, we are following Princess Alexandrina, I believe that's her name, and her maid, Pookie. And following the princess's father's scandalous death, it is discovered that they are basically penniless. And Queen Victoria in England takes sort of pity on her and allows her to come and live at Hampton Court Palace. Hampton Court Palace is really quite large and lots of people live there. and is sort of foreshadowed in the title of the mystery. There is a pigeon pie that one of the residents of Hampton Court Palace eats and then subsequently dies from poisoning. And Pookie, the maid of the princess, is accused of the murder because she made the pie. And so the princess has to go about trying to solve this. This one is a little bit quieter and more literary in its tone. It reads a little bit more like a standard novel than a mystery. So if you're looking for something really propulsive, this is not going to be it. But I just really enjoyed this. Julia Stewart is a fabulous writer. She's very funny. She's very witty. Loved all of the eccentric characters in this book. She writes eccentric characters so very well. And this is just a book that I have never forgotten about ever since I read it, and it's been a number of years now, and it just always stays in my mind, and it's one I will definitely be rereading again. But if you want just a standalone mystery that I categorize as a cozy adjacent mystery, then definitely pick up The Pigeon Pie Mystery by Julia Stewart. Next up is another standalone mystery that actually also reads a little bit more like a novel than a typical straightforward mystery, and that is The Mystery of Mrs. Christie by Marie Benedict. And this is basically Marie Benedict's idea of what happened to Agatha Christie when she went missing for several days in 1926. It's very famously known that Agatha Christie went missing. It was right when her marriage to her first husband was breaking up, and she's never really explained or told what happened to her, where she went during these missing times. And so lots of people have written about it or included that in fictionalized novels about her, and they have speculated about it in biographies of her. But I really loved this take on it. We actually go back and forth between Agatha Christie's perspective and her husband Archie's perspective. So you're kind of going back and forth, and you're kind of leading up to the culmination of finding out what happened to her. And I actually thought that the way Marie Benedict put this together was incredibly plausible and quite probable, actually. So if you are interested in that and you're an Agatha Christie fan and you haven't read this one yet, I definitely would give it a read. Again, it's a little bit more almost like a straight novel that happens to have something that's a mystery in it, even though you sort of know the outcome going in. So this is kind of borderline of the cozy adjacent mystery because, like I said, it reads almost more like just a straight novel. But I definitely recommend this one. And because it's just dealing with a disappearance, there's no death or murder or anything in this. So if that's important to you, then definitely give this one a read. Next up, I have to include a couple of middle grade mystery series because I just think middle grade mysteries as a whole slot perfectly into my cozy adjacent mystery category. There is never going to be anything really graphic in them. The mysteries always get tied up really well. And of course, the amateur detectives are young people. The books are written for young people. So it's just got a different tone to it. Again, much lighter, not graphic. And I'm going to share two of my very favorite middle grade mystery series, the first of which is very, very famous, and I'm sure you know this mystery series, but that is the Nancy Drew mysteries. This is The Secret of the Old Clock, which is the very, very first Nancy Drew mystery. I read all of the Nancy Drew mysteries when I was growing up, at least all of the ones they had published up until the time I read them. And these have a very vintage quality to them, of course. And it's just fun to follow along with Nancy and all of her friends and solve the different mysteries that they get involved in. Nothing terribly horrible ever happens in these, so some of them are quite tense. I think The Secret of the Hidden Staircase is one that I always think of when I think of Nancy Drew because it had me turning the pages late at night and I could not put it down because I needed to know that everything was going to be okay. There's a reason people are still reading Nancy Drew today because they're absolutely fabulous and they definitely fall into my cozy adjacent mystery category. And my second middle grade mystery series is one that I've just discovered, but I read the first book and I'm definitely going to read the rest of the series. And that is the Murder Most Unladylike series by Robin Stevens. This is the US edition, which is called a Wells and Wong mystery, but the original UK title of the first book was A Murder Most Unladylike, and that is the name of the series in the UK. So you can find it kind of in both formats, but just so you know, Murder is Bad Manners is also A Murder Most Unladylike. In this, we're following Hazel Wong and Daisy Wells. They go to a British boarding school. This is set in the 1930s, and one of the teachers in the school is found dead by Hazel. And then when she goes to get help and they return to the scene of the crime, the teacher's body is not there. And so Hazel and Daisy take it upon themselves to find out what happened to the science teacher. And they're pretty sure something nefarious is going on, and they are up to the task of solving the case. I thought this was such good fun, and it's one of the best middle grade mystery series that I have tried in recent years, and I highly recommend it. At least this first book, which I very much enjoyed, and I am so looking forward to continuing on with this, but it's definitely a cozy adjacent mystery series, and if you enjoy a British boarding school setting, this one is definitely one that I recommend. And finally, I have 3 mystery series that are all historical mysteries. And I think something about the historical mystery setting really lends itself to being in my cozy adjacent mystery category. And first up is the Mrs. Jeffrey mysteries by Emily Brightwell. This isn't the first one. This is just one that I happen to have a physical copy of. I actually haven't read this one yet because I am working my way through this series in order. But Mrs. Jeffries is the housekeeper to Inspector Witherspoon of Scotland Yard. And Inspector Witherspoon, he's not that great at his job. He really wants to be sitting behind a desk, but they have put him out on the street, as a detective to solve mysteries. But he's quite squeamish, and he isn't that great at putting 2 and 2 together and making 4. And so Mrs. Jeffries and the rest of the servants in his household come along and sort of help him out from behind the scenes. I've read, I believe, 3 or 4 mysteries in this series so far, and I'm very much enjoying it. It's also wonderful on audio. If you enjoy mysteries on audiobook, I definitely recommend it. But Mrs. Jeffries is fun, and I really am enjoying getting to know all of the other characters. There are some neighbors that you get to know and other friends of the servants in Inspector Witherspoon's household. And Mrs. Jeffries is just a fantastic character. And I really like how they don't make Inspector Witherspoon feel bad. Like, they really try to give him the clues so that he feels like he's solving the cases, even though they're the ones really doing it behind the scenes. So this is another very fun historical mystery that is for sure cozy adjacent. And then next is another mystery series that I am just diving into, and that is the Royal Spyness mystery series by Rhys Bowen. And so many people had recommended this to me over the years, and I finally started it last year, and I'm very much enjoying getting to know Georgie and all of the characters in this series. This series is set in England in the 1930s, and we're following Lady Georgina Rannoch, and she is something like 37th in line to the throne. So she's sort of royalty adjacent, but her family themselves don't have a lot of money, and so she kind of takes it upon herself to try to figure out ways to make some money. And one of the ways that she decides to try to make some money is she offers up her services as a housekeeper. So what she does basically is clean the London houses of the aristocracy when they're coming from their country homes. So she's not really there on site when anybody is living there. She just kind of gets the house opened and ready for everybody to come in. And then in the midst of that, she kind of stumbles upon some mysteries, murders, what have you. And Georgie's just such a fun character. Her grandfather used to be a police officer, and so she often goes to him for help. It seems really plausible, the situation she gets herself into, and plausibility is, I think, the one thing that I sometimes struggle with in true cozy mysteries, is that I have trouble believing that these people would really be able to solve the crimes, that they wouldn't just let the police do their jobs. But in these sort of cozy adjacent mysteries, I actually do feel like the amateur sleuths could solve the case. And Georgie is no exception to that. She's such a fun character, and I'm really just enjoying getting to know her and all of her friends and family, and I cannot wait to keep on with this series. It's quite a long one, so I have lots more good reading ahead of me. And then finally, I'm going to end with another mystery series that for me is right up there with the Lady Hardcastle and Flo mystery series. So if that is one of your favorites, then definitely give this one a read. And that is the Phillida Bright mystery series by Colleen Cambridge. And in this, we're following Phillida Bright, who is the fictional housekeeper of Agatha Christie. So again, there's a sort of plausibility because she works for the Queen of Mystery herself. And Agatha Christie features a little bit in these books. I was worried when I first started them that they weren't going to seem that believable, because I struggle sometimes when authors try to make somebody very, very famous a character in their books. But Agatha Christie really plays a very peripheral role, and Phillida Bright is the main focus of these stories, as are the other servants in Agatha Christie's house. So you get to know the butler and the chauffeur and the cook and all these other people. But we're mainly following Phillida. She's very smart, she's very plucky, and I absolutely love her as a character. And I'm so excited because the next entry in the series is coming out in the fall, I believe, and I cannot wait. I love this series on audio just as much as I love Lady Hardcastle. I am blanking on the narrator's name for this, but I will put it here on the screen for you because she is fabulous. And again, if you love Lady Hardcastle, definitely give the Phillida Bright mysteries a read, because again, they're just so wonderful and clever, and I never can figure out who done it. And just kind of being set in Agatha Christie's world, oftentimes the murders kind of parallel some of Agatha Christie's mysteries, and so that is another fun element to these. But yes, all in all, this is just a wonderful series, and it's definitely cozy adjacent and one of my favorites. And those are some of my cozy adjacent mystery recommendations. I definitely have other mysteries that fall into this category, but these are definitely some of my top tier that I recommend starting with if this is either a category / genre that you're not familiar with or that you really want to read more of. These are the books that I recommend. I hope this helped explain a little bit what I mean when I talk about cozy adjacent mysteries. I love mysteries of lots of different varieties, but I would really say that from this sort of cozy adjacent up through the sort of police procedural type mysteries, that is really my sweet spot. So everything that kind of falls in there. So from cozy adjacent to sort of golden age crime novels like Agatha Christie and Dorothy L. Sayers, and then private detective novels like Sue Grafton, and up through things like Louise Penny and Tana French. So that is really kind of my sweet spot for the types of mysteries I enjoy. But this cozy adjacent category of mysteries is just one that I kind of come back to every time I just need a little bit of a palate cleanser or a breather, just something I know I'm going to enjoy. It's not going to be too graphic, it's not going to be too complicated or too dark, but it is going to have a good solid mystery to it. But the books and series I shared today are definitely the things I gravitate towards when that's what I want in my reading life. I would love to chat with you down in the comments below. Do you enjoy cozy adjacent mysteries? And if so, do you have some favorites, either of the ones I listed here today, or do you have any others that you think might fall into the cozy adjacent mystery category? Let us chat all things cozy adjacent mysteries down in the comments below. But if you're here and you don't have anything that you'd like to add in the comments, but you'd like to let me know that you were here because comments really help my channel, why don't you leave the little detective emoji? I love this little magnifying glass, so fun. And if you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button and the hype button if you're on the YouTube mobile app. And if you're new here and you haven't yet done so, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and join my cozy corner of booktube. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. As always, I'll be back with another video very soon, and until then, I wish you a good book and a warm cuppa. Bye.